Hey there, how there, who there? It's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming to another Above the Rim basketball tournament. We are doing the 1985 tourney. As within the game, I've got the big deluxe set I bought. So the 85 and 86 seasons are there, but I picked all the teams that from 84, 85 to play in this. There's a preliminary round, and then there'll be games going on. Our first game is Creighton versus Memphis, who went to the Final Four in 1985. Was the only non Big East team in the Final Four. Memphis, in their one game playoff, beats Creighton 76-66. Lee Holmes Bedford, I think he played for the Pistons. Askew and Turner doing their job, 16 points. Well, Creighton, Benoit Benjamin, the future Seattle Sonic with 20 points. Chattanooga L Tech, I believe, was Malone on this team? Yeah, he was. This was the year he was drafted. L Tech beat the Chattanooga Choo Choos. Wilkins with 28 points. But 19 from Godbold. What a name. With Karl Malone with 17 points and 10 rebounds. Boston College Auburn sees Auburn sneak past BC. That had Presley and Adams, future NBA others, 23 from McCready. Auburn with Chuck Person with 38 points. Charles Barkley was draft eligible in 84. So Auburn nips BC and then Bud. Navy Notre Dame. Join the Navy with a young David Robinson. They beat Notre Dame 82-76. Robinson 18 points, 5 rebounds, but 5 fouls, meaning he was out of the game. In college, if you get 5 personal fouls, you're out instead of the 6 in the majors. Is that D Rivers, Doc Rivers? Well, 18 points by Rivers, 12 by Barlow. But yeah, Navy beat Notre Dame. Kansas, Alabama. And Alabama crushes Kansas in the fine powder. Farmer and all them. McKee, Danny Manning, 14 points, Kellogg, 12. But remember, this is a young Danny Manning. 3 years later, he would help Kansas win the national championship. Arkansas, can we win? We do. 76-60 over L State. Yay. L State, who the next year in 1986 would go to the Final Four unexpectedly, but Ballantyne 22 points, Mike Klein with 21. Lang doing his job, so Arkansas beat L State to move on to the next round. Washington, Syracuse. See, Syracuse crushed Washington in the Final Four. Dara Shrimp had 16 points. Syracuse 17 from PJ Washington. Alexis 16 points off the bench. Addison Ronnie Cycling, future Heat, among other teams, without a point. Wait, he had no points. No points in 16 minutes. Jesus. 4 power personal fouls. Kentucky hosting Georgia, and they narrowly win 74-72. Kenny Walker with 24 points. Good Kentucky is. Georgia with Crosby and McMillan, 16 points on the bench. And then finally, Georgetown, who took second in 1985 in real life with a senior Patrick Ewing, gets a massive loss to St. John's, who also went to the Final Four. That's right. St. John's and Georgetown both made the Final Four. And unfortunately, due to random draw, they had to be in the preliminary round, and St. John's took down Georgetown 73-63. Barry Glass, Wennington, Mullen, and Moses doing their job. Mark Jackson, 14 points and 14 minutes on the bench. Georgetown with Patrick Ewing and David Wingate. Ewing had only 14 points and 6 rebounds. He had 4 fouls too, so he couldn't be out there. But St. John's beat Georgetown. So these 9 teams join 23. Yeah, 9 teams make it in. 23 teams were automatically in. Our first matchup, random draw, is St. John's going to face Missouri and beating Missouri. Beat Mizzou 81-75. Barry 24, Mullen with 21. Canadian Bill Wennington with 8. Mark Jackson, 18 minutes off the bench. Missouri 25 from Thomas, 21 from Strong. The 1984 third place team. I gotta look at my notes. Yeah, fourth place in 82-83. Next up is NC State and UAB. Both these teams actually randomly went in. NC State with the win. Lorenzo Charles, 24. McQueen still on that team. Nate McMillan, future Sonic, 5 points. Spud Webb on that. Oh, yeah, Webb was on the team. Terry Gannon, 83. NC State was still around. And Finney Del Negro came in. UAB, 16 points there. Yeah, Lorenzo Charles was still on that team. Nice. Next is Memphis, Ohio State. Memphis had to qualify to make it through. And they beat OSU 81-75. So Memphis survives. Lee with 11, Bedford with 25, Askew with 2 pointers. 19 from Taylor, 17 from Hobson for oh no. Illinois State, Wichita State, both these teams randomly got in. Buys, and Illinois State will move on to the Sweet 16. 20 points from Johnson, 20 points from Duncan. Wichita with the X-Men, Xavier McDaniel with 19, Sherrod with 20, and a loss. LTech Auburn. LTech made it in. LTech and Auburn both had to go to the preliminary round, and in overtime, LTech with the win. Carmelo with only 4 points in 10 minutes. Well, 5 fouls. He got booted early. Simmons 20 points. Auburn with Person with 30 points, even though and he had 2 fouls. So yeah, he tried to lift Auburn on their back. Well, Person had 2 free throws and could have iced it, but he didn't. That ruined him. UNLV Tulsa, both these guys randomly got in. Tulsa will be moving to the Sweet 16. 16 from Harris, 12 from Johnson. No, UNLV, Aaron Garlian with 4 points. Kitchens and Semensky. No coach's sons here. Duke against Maryland. They both automatically qualified. And Dukies win 76-72. Len Bias with only 7 points. This wasn't his senior season. 86 was. Well, Jerry Bilas with only 4. Johnny Dawkins with 10 points. They didn't need all these players. They didn't need them anyway. Georgia Tech, Alabama sees Alabama crush GT in the Fine Power. John Spider Sally with only 4 points in 8 minutes. Why does it 8 minutes 60 seconds? That's funny. Bama. Okay, why I see 74, but why do I only see like 36 points and 25 points? What happened here? Oh, that's period 2. All of it. Yeah, I knew something was fishy. I was like, spelling with 8 points. Why are there points? Oh, like the other scorers. I probably didn't do the guys justice. Navy Villanova. Nova, the champs from 85, win over Navy. And David Robinson does get 21 points and only 4 rebounds. Villanova, 22 from McLean, 22 from Pickney. Presley was 17. Harold Jansen with 2 points off the bench. NC Carolina, Kentucky, 2 rival schools. North Carolina wins. Joe Wolf, Brad Doherty, Kenny Smith, with the fact that Perkins is gone, MJ gone, Worthy gone, Popson and Peterson 17 and 10 off the bench. 37 from Kenny Walker, but in the end, they couldn't win. Oklahoma, Arkansas, can the Pig Suey? Fuck. Oklahoma wins. William Tisdale with 19 points, McAllister with 20. We were so close. Klein with 16. Well, bad luck, Arkansas. Fuck off. VCU Loyola, and VCU will move on to the Sweet 16, 84-77. Loyola, 2-time champs way back in the day. 39 points from Hughes. I think it was 2 or 1. Was it just the 1? Can't remember. Temple versus Michigan, and Temple beats Michigan. Unreal. Bill Cosby must be happy. 37 from Hall. Joe Burt, 19 points. Michigan's 4 years away from being a good team. And Roy Tarpley got in trouble with the law. Syracuse M State, and it's the Qs winning 83-69 as Ronnie Cycli puts up 13, Addison 24, Washington 20. 23 from Sam Vincent. Scott Skiles playing 40 minutes, 6 points, not taking a 3-pointer. I guess 3-pointers were banned at the time, right? Yeah, 3-pointers were not around at that time, Jeff. 7 Mavericks TT, and SMU will move on to the Sweet 16 as Concat with 14 points. Remember him? Briggs with 14 points. Remember him? 12 from Jennings, 8 from Irvin. Yeah, Texas Tech had nobody there. And finally, Illinois versus UTEP. And in the end, Illinois beats UTEP 28 from Welsh, 23 from Fido. Fido! Sweet 16, Duke and Villanova. Wow, this is a key matchup. And Dukies win 92-81, crushing Villanova's chances to repeat in bill form. Johnny Dawkins, 23 points. Larry, 20. Yeah, Villanova tried their best, but Duke just was too much. Krzyzewski has them on par and 21 points from Henderson off the bench. Memphis Tulsa. Memphis will lose to Tulsa in overtime. Wow. Overtime heroics for Tulsa. Memphis was like, we got to the Final Four in real life. We can make the Final Four here. Nope. Holmes with 19, Askew with 15. Well, Lee was booted with 5 fouls. So it sucks for Tulsa, but 29 from Harris, 22 from Johnson. Tulsa with the win. Temple, Syracuse, and it's the Qs winning 87-82. Ronnie Cycli with only 4 points in 22 minutes. 22 points off the bench by Alexis. Ruining Bill Cosby's dream as Hull had 29. SMU L Tech and Carl Malone's story continues against. They beat SMU Concat with 9 points, right with 18, but 8 points in 20 minutes for Carl Malone. He was foul stricken, but L Tech still survived. Country survived. VCU Oklahoma, and it's Oklahoma winning 86-70 as Tisdale with 10 points, Mikhausser 17. This was 3 years before their big run in 88 where they should have won the title, but Kansas ruined them. Illinois NC State, and it's Illinois who will ruin Feldonal's chances to get to the quarterfinals 85-68 as 20 from Altenberger, Sherman Douglas, well, Ken Norman on the bench 15, Lorenzo and Myers with 14 points each. And then you got Illinois State Bama. Someone's going to move on, and it's Illinois State who will move on to the quarterfinals 70-66. Ivanovic 11, but Johnson 20 points. Amazing. Illinois State gets the luck of the draw. Johnson 21 points. And North Carolina versus St. John's. In the end, it was St. John's, who are the only Final Four team in real life in 85 to move on to the Final 8. 28 from Chris Mullen, 12 from Canadian Wennington, 10 from Walter Berry, 14 from Doherty, 13 from Peterson, Popson 20 points off the bench. They just miss MJ. So we get to the quarterfinals. It's a three-game series, right? I read that right? 3-game series. So Duke and Syracuse have to bump into each other in the quarterfinals. That's amazing. And Syracuse will sweep the Dukies 79-75 in game 2. So Syracuse moves on to the Final Four. 21 from Washington, 17 from Madison. Dukies, 17 from Dawkins. Jay Bilas did not do much in game 2. Illinois Tulsa sees Illinois survive. Illinois almost got taken out by Tulsa. They win 76-72, so the alumni are in the Final Four. Welsh and Montgomery, Johnson and Harris for Tulsa. Now we got St. John's versus Illinois State. And in the end, it was St. John's proving much. Illinois State thought they were going to be the Cinderella run, but no, St. John says, not today. 23 from Barry, Wennington 10, Mullen 13. Illinois State, Stevanovic had 22. And in the end, Oklahoma versus L Tech. Oklahoma sweeps L Tech and ruins Carmelone's chances to make the Final Four. Tisdale 19, McAllister 19. Carmelone had 18 points, but they lost. So it's down to Illinois versus St. John's and Syracuse, Oklahoma. Decent teams. Illinois, they took care of UTEP. They took care of UTEP, NC State, and Tulsa. St. John's, they had to qualify in the prelims. They beat Georgetown, shocked them. Then they faced Missouri, North Carolina, and Illinois State, taking those teams out. So 5 games, who will win? We have a game 5. And it's Illinois surviving by 1 point. So the fighting alumni will be your finalists 70-69. Great job. 14 from Walsh, 12 by Montgomery. They basically did a team game. 22 from Mullen, Barry with 14, Wennington with 12. St. John's tried. Mark Jackson tried off the bench. The good news for St. John's is that they're technically going to take the 3 seed in 1985 because third place and not fourth because they did get to the Final Four in real life. In the end, it was Oklahoma crushing Syracuse in defined powder in 3 straight. So bad luck for Syracuse. But don't feel bad for Syracuse. I mean, in 2 years' time, they'll win the champion. They go to the championship final. But Oklahoma sweeps Syracuse to move on to the finals against Illinois. And this was an Oklahoma school 3 years away from making the finals in real life. William Tisdale, 20 points. Addison, 22. PJ Washington doing his job. But yeah. So Oklahoma, Illinois. So let's look at Oklahoma. They took care of Arkansas. They took care of Virginia Commonwealth. They had to face L Tech in 3 games in a best of 3, and then Syracuse. I think they've been 7-0. But yeah, you got Tisdale, David Johnson, Tim McAllister as the big names, and then Illinois led. They beat UTEP. They beat NC State. They had Tulsa. They actually almost lost to St. John's, but Montgomery did his job. George Montgomery, Anthony Welch, Bruce Douglas, and Scott Meeks. So we're in the final. Oklahoma, Illinois. Who will win? I would say Illinois. Oh man, we go to game 7. And in the 7th, it is the Oklahoma Sooners. So Boomer Sooner, 69-68. 22 from Tisdale. Winters with 16. But Oklahoma does their job and takes down Illinois. So great job for Oklahoma. So the Boomer Sooners move on and take down Illinois. Illinois and Oklahoma basically traded big leads, but Oklahoma won on Illinois turf when it mattered the most. Yeah, they split pretty much everywhere. Illinois won at home, then Oklahoma had to win at home. But Oklahoma survives and advances against Illinois, and they're the champs. So we got that in mind. We are going to create the free format. We'll see the teams again. We're going to do 1986 team pack 1986. So we're going to set up the 1986 tourney. Every team from 1986. So if you're an 84, 85 teams like Illinois State, bad luck. You're not going to get in. Make sure that every team is of the 86 variety. Because, 86, that's the school's year and all that. If I remember, let me think. 86 was when Louisville won, right? I don't know the lineups and all that. Of course, I have to. Well, yeah, Navy almost got to the Final Four. I think they missed by just an inch. Yeah, I have to look at the 85, 86 stuff. A lot of 86 teams. Well, a fair bit. 16 teams, right? 32, 38. So 38 teams will be in the 86 tournament this time. So you see all those teams. Yeah, I think it was Louisville beating Duke. LSU got in, but who got the other Final Four spot? I'll have to look. Preliminary round 1753. There we go. Continue. Yeah, hang on here. 1986 NCAA basketball championship. That's it. Because I want to know who got to the Final Four. Yeah, it was Duke and Louisville. I knew it too. Yeah, LSU and Kansas. Okay, Kansas was the other team in Final Four. Louisville, Duke, LSU. Well, I knew LSU because of their 11 seed. But yeah, next time we'll deal with the 1986 tourney and all that. Anyhow, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.